It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Friday, May 30th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning. Could see some pop-up showers this afternoon, the high 75. And then the weekend, kind of a mixed bag. So Saturday, rain on and off throughout the day, high 70. And then Sunday, we'll get some sun and clouds. The high will be 69. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 60 and cloudy in Southampton out on Long Island, 59 and cloudy in Colts Neck over in New Jersey, and it's 61 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
The Knicks, they are still alive. The top cop during the 9/11 attacks passes away. How did 2 homeless men end up inside a Long Island garbage truck? A Seton Hall baseball player says he was hazed by his team. And a big moment for a mama at Baruch College. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Big night for the Knicks, still alive in the NBA playoffs. Staved off elimination, 111-94 victory over the Pacers. Game 5, Eastern Conference Finals at Madison Square Garden last night. Jalen Brunson leading all scorers, 32 points. So now New York trails in this best of 7, 3-2. Here was Tom Thibodeau, Knicks coach, after the game.
I thought he was very aggressive, and I think that's super important. I think Jalen as well. I thought the first quarter, that set the tone for the game. We got to make sure that we stay aggressive.
Yeah, the defense against Tyrese Halliburton, who's really given them a lot of problems during this series. They kept him in the single digits. Let's see, Karl Anthony Towns, who had another big night, talks about the Knicks' mindset going forward.
I just came into the game just thinking about being ultra aggressive, and if I get a chance to go downhill or impact the game, I wanted to do that. So tonight was a great night for us, executing our game plan defensively, and it helped us offensively get going a little bit, too, with those transition points.
And Jalen Brunson saying it was a great bounce-back win for the Knickerbockers.
Yeah, we came out and we had some energy in the way we played, and I was very proud of what we did. And we just got to replicate it in the first quarter of the next game and then continue to build on that.
And there's no way to understate the excitement of Knick fans across the city. There's these watch parties everywhere. If you were down at the Oculus outside the World Trade Center last night, thousands showing up to watch the game on big screens there. In Central Park, there were a few thousand that showed up to watch the game there. Outside the Garden, of course, that's been throughout the playoffs, and people just excited about this Knicks team.
I've been to 3 watch parties already. I went to MSG, I went to Radio City, and now I'm here.
If we take it to the championship, it's going to mean the same thing for everyone. It's going to mean everything. See, this is why I'm wearing this. This is the last time we win the chip.
Yeah, all right. So Game 6 Saturday night back in Indiana. I think it's an 8 o'clock start for that game. Former NYPD Commissioner Bernie Kerik, who was the top cop in the city during the 9/11 attacks, passed away yesterday after being hospitalized with a cardiac illness.
Kerik started as a cop, then moved to the Department of Corrections and was named its commissioner under Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who then promoted Kerik to NYPD commissioner in 2000. He later led a provisional police force in Iraq, named to the post by President Bush after the U.S. invasion. In 2004, Bush nominated Kerik for Homeland Security Secretary, but Kerik was forced to withdraw after admitting he employed an undocumented immigrant as a nanny. That led to a guilty plea on an ethics violation in 2006. Kerik pleaded guilty to 8 felonies in 2009, including tax fraud, and served 4 years in federal prison. He was pardoned by President Trump in 2020. Bernard Kerik was 69 years old. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
And by the way, just a fantastic individual. I was lucky to get to know him actually post-prison, where he hung out a lot with Geraldo and I. If you were listening to ABC at the time, he was on quite often after he got out of prison, and on those BS charges, by the way. He never should have been behind bars. Sad to see him go. We're going to do more about him in the 5:30 hour, including some reaction, of course, from the former mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Go west if you are on Route 80 in New Jersey. Well, you'll be able to finally go west as soon as tonight.
It's been months of massive disruptions along Route 80 in Morris County. Sinkholes, the result of long abandoned mines, opened underneath the highway in Wharton near exit 34. And so 80's been closed in both directions for around 2 months. 2 eastbound lanes opened last week. Now we get moving on the westbound side. And the goal is to fully reopen 80 near Wharton by the end of June. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 5:05 out to Arkansas, where police in Calico Rock are intensifying their search for a former police chief who escaped from prison over the weekend. They just can't find him. Here's correspondent Priya Suri has more.
Police checkpoints and heavy surveillance are in place in an all-hands effort to recapture an extremely dangerous escaped killer, Grant Hardin. The 56-year-old former police chief has been serving a lengthy prison sentence for murder and rape.
So this is what we're being told. Hardin, dressed in a makeshift outfit designed to look like a corrections officer's uniform, persuaded a guard to open a gate for him, so he clearly knows what he's doing and getting his way around.
Police say Hardin managed to escape in a makeshift outfit designed to look like a corrections officer uniform. According to an affidavit, the disguise convinced a guard to open the gate and let him walk out. Tips and unsubstantiated rumors about Hardin have been pouring in, including the theory he may have floated away down this river.
Wow.
But authorities say there have been no confirmed sightings so far.
Now, they claim they are closing in on this former police chief, but we haven't heard much about this investigation in the last couple hours.
Officials in Louisiana say they're making progress tracking down the last 2 men who broke out of a New Orleans jail nearly 2 weeks ago. Domestic abuse suspect Antoine T. Massey and 4-time convicted killer Derek Groves are still at large.
Yeah, we remember that from a couple weeks ago, the fact that's still on the loose there as well. 5:06. President Trump's tariff plan has been reinstated by a federal appeals court for now. The National Economics Council Director, Kevin Hassett, said the decision did not come as a surprise to anybody in the administration.
We're very pleased with the ruling. We expected it. The bottom line is that our U.S. Trade Representative, Jamison Greer, is the best trade thinker in the business, that President Trump's case is ironclad.
So the court had granted the administration's request to pause the lower court's ruling that blocked most of Trump's tariffs on nations. The U.S. Court of International Trade ruled earlier this week that an emergency law would not give Trump the authority to impose tariffs on these countries. But then yesterday, a U.S. district judge upheld the ruling after the Justice Department appealed.
And so this is a big victory for the president. And I just got to say that you also can see, if you just look at the data, that President Trump's vision is working, that we've received $50 to $60 billion in tariff revenue since we've started the tariffs. Inflation has gone down.
And the White House calling the decision to block Trump's tariff plan an example of judicial overreach. WABC News Time 5:09. The White House arguing a Boston federal judge overreached when ruling to block a plan to end Harvard's ability to enroll foreign students. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says if these judges want to be Secretary of State or the president, they can run for office themselves.
Secretary of State Rubio has simply used his authority to revoke those visas, to revoke that privilege, and we've seen the courts try to block that.
A federal judge said yesterday that she planned to issue a preliminary injunction against the administration's efforts. She said she wants to maintain status quo by allowing the Ivy League school to continue hosting international students on visas.
If these judges want to be the Secretary of State or they want to be the president, they can run for office themselves. It should be the other way around. But all of the actions the president has taken rely on legal authorities that have already been granted to him by our nation's existing laws.
And yesterday, Harvard was holding its graduation ceremonies the same day that the judge blocked the Trump administration from enforcing that ban on international students. The president of Harvard, Alan Garber, made note of that yesterday.
Members of the class of 2025 from across the country and around the world. Around the world, just as it should be.
Yeah, so clearly Harvard's going to continue to fight these battles with the White House. 5:11. Meanwhile, the White House wants Jill Biden to testify before Congress about what she knew about her husband, President Biden's decline while he was in office.
Frankly, the former First Lady should certainly speak up about what she saw in regards to her husband and when she saw it and what she knew.
The White House press secretary there saying that the former First Lady is still lying to the American people. She still thinks the American public, she says, is so stupid that they're going to believe her lies.
She's still lying to the American people. She still still thinks the American public are so stupid that they're going to believe her lies. And frankly, it's insulting, and she needs to answer for it. Anybody looking, again, at the videos and photo evidence of Joe Biden with your own eyes and a little bit of common sense can see this was a clear cover-up.
So House Republicans want a select committee to investigate what they see as a cover-up involving President Biden, accused of hiding his health decline. California Democrat Ro Khanna says it's something that his party has to really address now.
We should have pushed back against a lot of what we were hearing from the White House.
Now, 5 former aides to President Biden had a deadline of last night to comply with an investigation into the alleged use of that auto pen to sign some last-minute executive actions.
I met him a few times. In those instances, he was fine, but the reality is he shouldn't have run.
Yeah, so this investigation is going to be awfully interesting. 5-12, out to Michigan, where Governor Gretchen Whitmer is reacting after President Trump said he'll look at pardoning the men convicted of plotting to kidnap her back in 2020. Whitmer says political violence cannot be tolerated no matter who it's aimed at.
I'm very disappointed that they're even considering it, frankly. When the president was shot at in Pennsylvania, I was one of the first people on either side of the aisle to condemn it.
So now the governor says she's going to make her thoughts known to the White House. She hopes what she says will be taken in consideration.
I'll be making my thoughts known to the White House, and I hope they take it into consideration. We have to condemn political violence, no matter where it comes from, no matter who it's aimed at. It does a disservice to everyone if we do anything short of that.
WABC News Time 513. The White House says Doge's mission to cut waste, fraud, abuse from government spending will continue following Elon Musk's departure. The press secretary says many Doge employees are now political appointees and government employees, and they tend to stay on.
The entire cabinet understands the need to cut government waste, fraud, and abuse, and each cabinet secretary at their respective agencies is committed to that.
And what Musk told us was that he began offboarding as a special government employee on Wednesday.
That's why they were working hand in hand with Elon Musk, and they'll continue to work with the respective Doge employees who have onboarded as political appointees.
Now, Musk has helped lead the Department of Government Efficiency since it was established back in January. But as a special government employee, he's only allowed to work for the administration for 130 days in a calendar year. 514, let's go down to the Texas border, where apparently the tide is turning when it comes to migrants heading back to Mexico. President Trump's border czar says they're seeing a surge of self-deportations now.
The more they see ICE out there in the streets arresting people and holding them accountable, the more they'll take advantage of doing the right thing.
That's Tom Homan, who says their latest numbers show that there's been about 8,500 self-deportations of people using the CBP One app. That's an app you can use to report what you're up to. But that, he says, is only the tip of the iceberg. He says many more, he claims, are returning to their home in Mexico just completely on their own.
Intelligence reports showing traffic going south now into Mexico.
And what he says is been the people crossing the border to go back home, mostly Mexicans who've been living in the U.S. illegally, who see what's going on here and are going back home on their own.
Give themselves an opportunity, maybe in the future, to come back as a visitor or a tourist, or maybe they have a U.S. citizen child that can petition for them.
All right, in a moment, we'll head over to the Middle East in Israel, where sirens were sounding yesterday. We'll get into that in a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Justin Ellick, the Knicks are still alive.
Yes, they are. Noam all-light, and they live to see another day after their 111-94 win over the Indiana Pacers in last night's Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Jalen Brunson scored 32 points. Karl Anthony Towns added 24 points and 13 rebounds despite a bruised left knee. And the Knicks, they stayed alive, winning on their home floor for the first time in the series to boot. New York extended its first trip to the conference finals since 2000 and kept alive hopes of becoming the 14th team to overcome a 3-1 deficit to win a series. No team has won a conference finals series after dropping the first 2 games at home. 2 nights after giving up 43 points in the first quarter, the Knicks held the Pacers to just 45 in the first half and limited Tyrese Halliburton, who had 32 points, 15 assists, and 12 rebounds on Tuesday, to just 8 points and 6 assists last night. Brunson outplayed by his point guard counterpoint, Tuesday's Game 4. Rebounded with his franchise record 21st postseason game of 30 or more points with the Knicks. Brunson scored 14 on 6 for 9 shooting in the first quarter, as the Knicks held a 27-23 lead, giving up 20 fewer points than in the first quarter of Game 4 when they trailed 43-35. Towns who was questionable to play after hurting his left knee in a collision late in Game 4, picked up the slack of 12 in the second when Brunson was scoreless. Brunson came back with the Knicks' first 8 of the third quarter as they opened a 20-point lead midway through that period. The Pacers cut that in half before New York regained control of the 12-0 surge en route to the win. Game 6 is Saturday night as the series travels back to Indiana. To the MLB, we're looking ahead to tonight. Both local teams opening up local sets this weekend. 7:10 p.m., the Rockies will visit the Mets in Queens for Game 1 of 3 over the weekend. David Peterson will get the start there. That's a 7:10 p.m. first pitch. And later on tonight, 10:10 p.m. out in Los Angeles, the Yankees will open up a World Series rematch weekend out in L.A. against the Dodgers. Max Fried will get the start in tonight's Game 1. And last night on the ice, the final from Dallas, the Oilers doubled up the Stars 6-3 in the Western Conference Final. Game 5, Edmonton wins that series 4-1. So now your Stanley Cup Finals is set between the Oilers and the Florida Panthers, scheduled to begin next Wednesday night from Edmonton. Here we go. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash LLC. Transporting your business's cash safely in armored trucks. SecureCashLLC.com.
WABC News Time 5:19. A new report says someone's been impersonating President Trump's chief of staff.
The Wall Street Journal says someone in recent weeks has been sending text messages and making phone calls to notable Republicans and business executives pretending to be chief of staff Susie Wiles. The FBI and the White House are investigating the report. FBI Director Kash Patel said in a statement to the Journal that safeguarding our administration officials' ability to securely communicate is a top priority. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Legal teams for the U.S. and the Qatari government still working to finalize the deals involved in that gifting of a luxury jet to the White House.
Doha plans to transfer a luxury Boeing 747-8 jet for President Trump to use as Air Force One. However, White House officials say the deal has not been finalized. This comes more than a week after the Pentagon said it had taken physical possession of the aircraft. Officials familiar with the matter told the Washington Post Qatar wants a memorandum of understanding between the two countries to make clear that the plane's handover was initiated by the Trump administration and that Doha is not responsible for any future transfers of the 747-8's ownership. I'm Lisa Taylor.
WABC News Time 5:20. Sirens sounding all over Tel Aviv yesterday. Israel says it intercepted a ballistic missile launch from Yemen. The attack comes a day after Israel says it killed Hamas Gaza chief Mohammed Sinwar. The main international airport of Israel was closed yesterday for a while to landings. This as the U.S. extended a ceasefire deal to Hamas with Israel's approval after 2 previous attempts by President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff to broker agreements fell through. But the terror group says the proposal does not meet its demands, so apparently this deal is dead as well. That is, volunteers in Gaza continue to get food to people there. They say it continues to be a mess.
They need specialized equipment, and it's not equipment that's exotic. It's available in any third world country, but not in the Gaza Strip because of the blockade. The smells you would smell are rotting flesh and sepsis. Because, again, there's no way of keeping anything clean. The hospitals are dramatically overcrowded.
Meanwhile, an Israeli official says the proposal that was on the table from the U.S. and Israel would have required the release of 10 living hostages and the bodies of 18 deceased captives and implemented a 60-day truce in Gaza. But it seems, at least as of this morning, Hamas has not gone for that deal. Let's bring it back home. 5:21, military families returning to their homes in San Diego a week after a jet crash there killed 6.
The homes of 39 families were temporarily evacuated due to safety concerns and ongoing investigations from the FAA and NTSB. Liberty Military Housing CEO Philip J. Rizzo says 35 families are expected to be given permission to re-enter their homes today, and 15 of the 39 total families have decided to stay somewhere else. The house on the corner of Sample and Salmon Streets, the one that took the brunt of the damage, has been red tagged. When asked about a total dollar amount of the damage to homes from the crash, Liberty Military Housing says it's way too early to say what that number is going to be. I'm John Fink.
While we're in California, the Department of Justice announcing a Title IX investigation into the state of California after a transgender athlete was allowed to take part in girls' high school sports. The mayor of this town, Clovis is the name of the town, says biological males should not be allowed to compete against girls.
The fact that this is unfair to these girls, and we need to be fighting for them to make sure that they are protected and respected in their sports. to me is just a no-brainer.
But apparently the state pushing back against that will now allow a biological female student athlete to compete who may have otherwise been displaced from entering the competition by a trans athlete.
Pressure, the attention, I don't know what it was, but those boys decided not to show up. And so we didn't have to deal with that at the finals 2 years ago. If this boy places to go or qualifies to go on to the finals on Saturday, we will also include the girl that rightfully had that spot in the finals. So we'll add her to the official finals on Saturday. It's no solution at all, and it's really just the CIF further complicating things and further exposing the fact that they know this is a garbage way to do this.
WABC News Time 5:23. Dead whales washing up on beaches in San Francisco Bay. 5 gray whales were found just over the past week, 14 so far since the beginning of the year.
Not only are there so many deceased whales in the region, but why has it been a banner year of having more sightings in San Francisco Bay of live whales than we have seen in at least 2+ decades, if ever.
Nobody can seem to explain this, by the way. Giancarlo Rulli, that's who you heard there, with the Marine Mammal Center, says the recent whale deaths are another setback for a population that's already struggling to recover from a large number of deaths between 2019 and 2023. Amid the discoveries, the California Academy of Sciences is investigating what it's calling a massive spike in whale sightings around the region, but also now these dead whales washing up on shore as well. 5:24. A case involving a cake for a same-sex couple may head to the nation's highest court now.
2 women in Bakersfield requested a simple cake from a bakery to celebrate their wedding in 2017, but the owner refused to make it due to her religious beliefs. California courts now say the refusal violated state anti-discrimination laws, though a local judge ruled in 2022 that the owner's refusal was for religious motivations. An appeals court later decided that personal beliefs cannot justify breaking California's discrimination laws. The case could now potentially be taken to the U.S. Supreme Court, which has previously supported businesses refusing service to same-sex couples. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
From California, we head down to North Carolina, where authorities continue to investigate a possible shark attack off the coast of North Carolina. Sean Barton was surfing on Wednesday when he says he felt intense, sudden pain in his leg. Here he describes it.
Just got done riding an epic wave and then felt a shark or something bite my leg. And at that moment, I was like, I think I just got bit by a shark.
Now, the Sunset Beach Fire Department, which is the local one, they received an emergency call about this injured swimmer. They raced out there. He needed about a dozen stitches in all, actually, to sew up that wound. Now, there hasn't been any future shark sightings since this potential attack. Barton says, he just, as he heard, finished riding this epic wave, and he's pretty sure it was a shark.
I didn't see anything, but I just kind of turned and immediately started running. Tried to get into shore as quickly as I could.
Now, the good news is he's going to be fine. 5:26. Summer, of course, is almost here. Mayor Adams wants everybody to learn how to swim this summer.
Mayor Adams is announcing the expansion of New York City's Swim for Life program. Adams says $5.5 million is being allocated to teach 4,800 additional children how to swim so they'll be safe in a city with 520 miles of shoreline and hundreds of pools.
Giving them the skill of knowing how to swim is a life-saving skill that they will always have.
Classes are free and they'll be offered in all 5 boroughs. I'm Lisa Ritchie for 77 WABC News.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the News with Noah on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Friday, May 30th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning. Could see some pop-up showers this afternoon, high 75. And then the weekend, well, that's a mixed bag. Tomorrow, Saturday, rain on and off throughout the day, the high going to be 70. And then Sunday, no more rain, sun and clouds, the high 69. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 60, cloudy in Southampton, out on Long Island. It's 59 and cloudy in Colts Neck over in New Jersey. And it's 61, or well, call it 62 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. I was really sorry to hear the news about former NYPD Commissioner Bernie Kerik, who led the NYPD during the 9/11 attacks. He passed away yesterday, 69, after a private battle with illness. He served as commissioner under Mayor Rudy Giuliani from 2000 to 2001. And he and Giuliani maintained a close friendship for a while. There was some parting of the ways for a while, but they found each other again in relatively recently. And so yesterday, Giuliani, after he found out about Kerik's death, went on, I think he has a YouTube show. I'm not sure exactly where this is from, but here he was talking about Kerik yesterday.
Don't think there are very few people in my life that I relied on more than Bernie Kerik. Nor are there too many people in my life. Actually, there was no one in my life that was braver than he was.
For about 2 decades, Kerik served, protected New Yorkers in the NYPD, including helping rebuild the city in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks. He was an Army veteran, rose through the ranks of the NYPD to that top spot. And then he pled guilty to federal tax fraud and false statement charges in 2010. And just in my opinion, not that you're asking for it, but it was just kind of a BS case. And they threw him in prison. He was in solitary confinement for a while, which is just nuts considering what he was charged with. He served 3 years in prison before his release in 2013. And that was the time I got to know him post-prison. And he went and spoke many places around the country about how solitary confinement was cruel and unusual punishment. This coming from a former police commissioner, so it carried weight. And he toured across the country, he spoke with anybody he could to say, you can't do that to people. It is cruel and unusual punishment, solitary confinement. And then he found his way back. And just a delightful guy. So sorry to see you go. And, of course, my sympathies to his family out in New Jersey. 5:41. On a much better note, Knicks have lived to fight another day. Jalen Brunson scoring 32 points. Karl Anthony Towns adding 24 as the Knicks stave off the Indiana Pacers, now down 3-2 in that best-of-7 Eastern Conference final. It was fun to watch Knicks fans at the end of the game chanting Knicks in 7, Knicks in 7. And no matter where you went through the city yesterday, there were these outdoor watch parties. I mean, the city's really excited about this Knicks team in Times Square, down at the Oculus in Central Park, of course, outside Madison Square Garden.
I've been to 3 watch parties already. I went to MSG, I went to Radio City, and now I'm here.
If we take it to the championship, it's going to mean the same thing for everyone. It's going to mean everything. See, this is why I'm wearing this. This is the last time we win the chip.
So now people are starting to believe, well, maybe they can come back from this 3-1 deficit. It's 3-2. Now just 2 more games they have to win.
This is the first time in my whole lifetime that the Knicks were even ever in this position. I've never seen this.
All these games remind me of my father. He used to watch him, on the couch. Every time I watch the game, all I do is remember him. So it just brings me back to good times,
Yeah, that's nice. Game 6 will be in Indiana on Saturday night, and then maybe we'll keep our fingers crossed. We'll see a Game 7 back at Madison Square Garden. 5:42. There's outrage over the detention of a young Venezuelan immigrant who advocates say was duped into giving up his asylum status. The 20-year-old New York City public school student, his name is Dylan, taken into custody by ICE agents who were waiting for him after a hearing in federal immigration court. Demonstrators rallying yesterday demanding Dylan's release. In just 8 days, ICE has shuttled Dylan around to 4 different states across the country, including as far away as Texas. He's now locked up in western Pennsylvania.
Dylan has been tricked, trapped, and kidnapped because he was doing everything the right way. Dylan was here legally. He did enter the country legally and was going through all the processes to make sure that he is able to seek asylum, and he was given that right to seek asylum. And this was just a routine immigration court hearing where he he was picked up.
Now, the feds and ICE are not saying much about this. Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, was on Fox News yesterday saying that deportations are being stepped up dramatically, and that may be why Dylan was carted away.
President Trump made a promise to the American people. The American people put him in office on this top issue was immigration enforcement. So, yeah, I have not been satisfied with the numbers.
So the New York Times is reporting that Dylan fled Venezuela, arriving in the U.S.-Mexico border in April 2024, and that he was granted entry under a Biden administration-era program that let him apply for asylum. The federal government, the White House, though, saying that the Department of Homeland Security confirmed that Dylan was in custody, and they described the 20-year-old as an illegal alien from Venezuela who illegally entered the U.S. 544. Let's go out to Long Island. Suffolk County Police say a man is dead after the dumpster where he and another man were sleeping was emptied into a garbage truck yesterday. The garbage truck emptied a dumpster used by the stores in a shopping center that was located in Comac. So apparently this truck shows up at a middle school in Kings Park yesterday. There's a guy riding the top of it, and everybody's trying to figure out exactly what's going on. He's trying to get the attention of the people on the truck that his friend may be inside.
He was sitting atop the truck as they pulled into the back of the middle school, and it was noticed by one of the employees at the middle school, I believe one of the custodial staff people. So I'm sitting at the top and told the driver of the truck to stop.
Yeah, so they stopped. And they emptied the contents of the truck, and they found both of these men. One was alive, and the other one, unfortunately, had passed away.
According to the driver, there was multiple loads in there, so he could have been anywhere in there.
And back at the dumpster where this trash was emptied, they said they sometimes saw homeless people hanging around, but they never thought that they'd be sleeping inside the dumpster.
Sometimes we do see some people dumpster diving and stuff here, but it's... You
don't think they're going to spend the night?
We don't think they're going to spend the night now.
Yeah, so now the question is, why were they sleeping in the dumpster? Was there drugs involved? Police, so far right now, they're investigating. 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk where we find Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noah Maleo. Started at the Garden last night. The Knicks, they live to see another day after their 111-94 win over the Indiana Pacers in last night's Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Jalen Brunson had 32 points. Karl-Anthony Towns added 24 points and 13 rebounds despite a bruised left knee. And the Knicks stayed alive, winning on their home floor for the first time in the series to boot. They extended their first trip to the conference finals since 2000. It kept alive hopes of becoming the 14th team to overcome a 3-1 deficit to win a series. No team has won a conference finals series after dropping the first two games at home. 2 nights after giving up 43 points in the first quarter, the Knicks held the Pacers to just 45 in the first half and limited Tyrese Halliburton to 32 points, 15 assists, and 12 rebounds on Tuesday night to just 8 points and 6 assists last night. Game 6 is Saturday night as the series travels back to Indiana. To the MLB, looking ahead to tonight at 7:10 p.m., the Mets will welcome in the Colorado Rockies for the weekend. Game 1 of 3. David Peterson will get the start there at 10:10 p.m. tonight. The Yankees, they stay in L.A. They will open up a World Series rematch series this weekend against the Dodgers. Max Fried will get the start in tonight's Game 1. And then the final from the NHL last night from Dallas, the Oilers doubling up the Stars 6-3 in the Western Conference Final. Game 5 there. Edmonton wins that series 4-1, so now your Stanley Cup finals are set between the Oilers and the Florida Panthers, scheduled to begin next Wednesday night from Edmonton. That's your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. Let's go up to Yonkers, where a man pled guilty yesterday to attacking a barber because he was Jewish. Sentenced to 6 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release. His name is Ahmed El-Jabili. You might remember when he attacked this barber. This was back in August of last year. Here was the judge during the sentencing yesterday.
You admitted to and you committed a reprehensible act which hurt another person.
Now, he attacked this barber. The barber's name is Slava Shushakov, 50 years old. He attacked him with a pair of scissors, stabbing him a number of times in the arm. And so they went back to this barber and they said, hey, do you now forgive this guy who attacked you? Here's what he had to say yesterday.
No, I can see his eyes that moment. I don't know, sorry, it's just, it can be just a word.
Shushakov says that he is satisfied with the sentence that his attacker has received, but he says the anti-Semitism part of the attack will never go away.
I'm just a Jew, and I can explain why different people, for some reason, hate us.
Yeah, I mean, came into the barbershop, didn't know the guy, just attacked him. 5:50. From Yonkers, let's go down to the Bronx, where mail thieves caught on camera twice yesterday stealing mail from boxes in East Tremont on Southern Boulevard and then on White Plains Road. Both times thieves could be seen taking mail out of public mailboxes and driving off.
Two men, both on motorcycles. One was fishing mail out of this mailbox.
They have stolen checks from maybe 4 money order checks out of this mailbox.
Yeah, so it's been an ongoing issue in mailboxes everywhere you go. I mean, it's not just New York, it's other states as well. What sometimes people do, there's all different ways. One is you can take like a mouse trap, the sticky mouse trap, and with a string on it, open the mailbox, head it down into the mailbox and see what pieces of mail you can pick up, and then they just rifle through the mail. In fact, a postal worker showed up yesterday to collect the mail at one of these boxes and found all kinds of letters opened up and thrown on the ground, obviously by the people who were trying to steal checks or anything else that were inside.
This is very sticky. So when you put your envelope in, it doesn't go down all the way. It stays at the edge.
Now, some of these postal boxes, or a lot of them, have very thin slits now, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. But apparently they've even outsmarted that, putting glue all over the slot so the mail doesn't really go down into the box. But the Postal Service says, they haven't completely figured out what to do to stop this. And clearly up in the Bronx, 2 incidents just yesterday tells you they haven't been able to stop it very much. 5:52. We go from the Bronx over to New Jersey. A Central Jersey man is dead after he was shot by a police officer in Woodbridge yesterday.
Police responded to a domestic dispute in a home on East Tappan Street in the Port Reading section of Woodbridge around 1 a.m. Thursday morning. Officers caught up with Amir Allen at a convenience store down the street. They say he had a baseball bat with him. Their interaction escalated and a Woodbridge sergeant fired. The 35-year-old Carteret resident died about 7 hours later at a hospital. No word of any action against the sergeant. The state attorney general's office is investigating. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New Jersey.
Seton Hall University being sued by a former student athlete alleging hazing, abuse, and misconduct by his baseball teammates and negligence on the part of the baseball coach. According to the complaint, we don't know who this individual is, but the plaintiff was 17 at the time, was recruited by the Division I Pirates out of Long Island, and apparently he says he went to the baseball coach a number of times to complain and that nothing was done. His lawyer, speaking to News 12.
From the moment he stepped onto campus, he realized that something wasn't right. It's our position that it was due to gender, that they didn't take this as seriously because it was a male team.
So he says it included sexual taunting, lewd acts by teammates, threats to perform all kinds of things, drinking-based initiations, and forcing this plaintiff to wrestle with older teammates, which apparently he says left him scarred and spitting blood.
The allegation is that his father spoke with the coach, with Coach Shepard, and he assured the father that he would look into it and prevent this from happening in the future. But it didn't. He dropped out of Seton Hall and had to matriculate into a Division III school and is just not on the same track that he would have been before.
Now, Seton Hall, responding to this lawsuit, say they've actually hired a third-party person to come in and investigate exactly what took place. The plaintiff is seeking about $1 million reward from Seton Hall University. 5:54. Less than 30 days now until the Democratic primary for race for mayor here in the city. Excuse me. Zohran Mamdani releasing a digital ad as a poll from the Emerson College and the Hill found that the Queens Assembly member continues to gain ground. Now, will it be fast enough to overtake Cuomo? Doesn't seem likely, but the vote is closer than it ever has been. At least this Emerson poll shows Andrew Cuomo would receive 35% of the vote, Mamdani 23%. Here's one of the individuals from Emerson College who did the polling.
His social media is exciting. He's in his early 30s. He's connecting with young voters.
He has shot up in our polling from roughly 1%
It's been a meteoric rise.
Now all eyes are on a debate that'll take place next week ahead of that June primary.
There is actually a surprisingly low number of undecideds right now. Really, really very few. So I think what will matter at this point is that second choice. People are not necessarily locked in for their second choice vote.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see Cuomo, who we've not seen on the campaign trail a whole lot, out there at this debate with the other candidates in the race next week. 5:55. Port Authority breaking ground on its new bus terminal in Midtown Manhattan yesterday.
As long as I got a place to get off the bus, that's all I care.
Yeah, I don't care. As long as I can get to work, feeling safe. I don't feel like it's safe in there. Out here, too.
What good does that do, having a beautiful modern building when there's so homelessness?
Yeah, so shovels went into the ground yesterday, so crews construct a temporary bus terminal that'll be used while they tear down the actual bus terminal and completely replace it. The project's expected to take about 7 years to complete. The new facility, it looks great on paper anyway. It includes more than 2 million square foot bus terminal, a new ramp structure, separate parking area for buses. Commuters say the building definitely needs an upgrade. It does. It's 75 years old.
Well, this building feels like it's going to fall down when you come in on a bus. So, it definitely needs to be done.
I just want the building to be cleaned up. It feels like, something from the 1970s in there, right? So as long as it gets cleaned up.
Definitely does not feel welcoming. If it was my first time coming into this bus terminal, I wouldn't probably know where to even go.
Even like 2 decades ago when I was regularly commuting through the Port Authority bus terminal, it was the worst part of my day. That's how disgusting it was.
They should probably focus more on the basic fundamental necessities of the bus terminal and not overdo it.
We've waited for a long time. I've been coming through the Port Authority for the past 25 years. So if it's 10 years, it's another 10 years. That is what it is.
Yeah, so 2032 is when it's expected to be finished. 5:57 now. Traffic. Transit on the 7s. Here's Joe Nolan.
That's going to be.
What's that?
Start to tear that down.
Yeah. They should have tore it down like 25 years ago.
30 years ago.
Yeah. So, it's a little bit nicer than it used to be, but it's still awful.
Yeah, it is awful. It is. And it's like a maze, too, to get to different different gates there.
Right.
It can be, if you don't know exactly where you're going a lot of times, it's really, it can be very confusing.
Really confusing, yeah.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.